Well, guys, 2025 is here, 2024 is gone, but what that means is we've got another month of data. Sales here in Utah have continued to drop through December, which is somewhat expected, but prices just will not budge. We're going to talk about what happened in 2024 with prices and sales, as well as where the market is headed in 2025. Now, as always, guys, if you think about making a move here to Utah or you already live in the area and you want to buy, sell, or invest in real estate, please reach out to me, call, text, or email me anytime. I've had literally thousands of people reach out from videos just like this, and I love hearing from you guys. So if I can help you in any way, please call, text, or email me anytime. Now, with that said, let's jump in my computer and take a look. All right, guys, so now we've jumped into my computer here. If you've seen any of my videos before, this will probably look somewhat familiar, but what I want to take a look at here is the data that we have for the month of December. December 2024, we had 2,818 home sales. You can see under the count right here. This is down slightly from November where we had 2,942. Comparing to last year, we're actually up though. Home sales, even though they are dropping, we are seeing some of that seasonality. We are seeing that home sales are actually up year over year. Last year was much more brutal. November and December, we had 2,400 and then actually went up slightly in December to 2,588 before again falling down to 2,300 for January of 2024. So we're actually up by about 500 sales. You could say this is somewhere between 15 to 20%, depending on how you run the numbers. But looking at January, I do expect that we'll probably see numbers somewhere around the same range, right? Probably somewhere between 2,600 and 3,000 home sales in January is what I expect, which is going to be higher than what we saw last year. The reason why January is always a little bit lower, at least in years past it has been, is because we have the holidays during that time. Anybody who purchases or puts a home under contract during the month of December is then going to close and sell or purchase that home in January. So January is typically right along there with December as one of the slowest months of the year because you have holidays, people are busy, they're traveling, they've got parties, all of those different things. So that's number one right here. December 2024 home sales 2,818. Taking a look at these middle two columns here, median original list price as well as median sales price, you can see that the list price has really not changed. This is all homes across all markets right here on this information. So taking a look at this, the median list price is right around the same number that we've seen over the past couple months. So 520. This means that prices really aren't budging on what homes are getting listed for. Interestingly enough, sales prices actually went up slightly. I don't know why there's, most of these end in just zeros here. This one actually ends at 501,882. Maybe they're calculating the information a little bit differently. But the thing that we want to talk about here is that the median sales price is actually up just slightly for the month of December compared to what we saw in November. So even though home sales are dropping a little bit, sellers are holding firm. They're not dropping their prices. They're not budging off of the list price that they have on their home. And in fact, you can see that the sales price to list price ratio is pretty much constant throughout the last couple months. Since August, we've been sitting at 97%, other than this 96% that we had here in November. So, 98, 98, 98, 98, 97, 97, all the way down through the last couple of months. So we're seeing that home prices are pretty sticky for where they're at, and you're not really going to see massive drops. Again, I've talked about this in numerous videos before. The only way that I think we see a massive drop in sales prices is if people, or in list prices or sales prices, is if people start to lose their jobs and they can no longer make their payments on their home and they're forced to sell. If we see inventory numbers start to climb drastically, we could see that home prices come down as there's more and more competition and homes continue to sit on the market. In fact, interestingly enough, over the last couple months, I've started to see more short sales. I've started to see more bankruptcies. I've started to see more homes that are going into foreclosure as well. It's still a very, very small percentage, probably only 5 out of every 1,000 homes, 2,000 homes. It's a very, very small percentage, but I am starting to see more of those pop up. So I do think that we'll probably continue to see that. The market is going to remain strong, at least for the time being. Let's take a look at median days on market. That's sitting here at 44. Again, comparing to last year at this time, we're pretty much in that same range, right? 35, 40, 45, somewhere in that range is pretty typical for this time of year, at least comparing to the last couple of years. Even going back to 2022, we were at 38, 45. We actually hit 51 in January 2023. And then going back to when the market was absolutely crazy, even in January 2022, we were at 11 days on market, which is just insane, right? That's pretty crazy to see. We're up over 4 times that amount here today. So the market is moving. We are seeing homes still continue to sell. Yes, they are sitting on the market for a bit longer, but prices really aren't budging. Now, the tough thing about this is that if you're a buyer in this market, you are still facing very high mortgage rates at this time. In fact, since basically like end of October, we've been sitting right around 7% on the interest rates across the board. Now, this is luckily for us here in Utah, this is a little bit higher on this graph than what we have seen here in Utah. I'm seeing people get in the high 5, low 6% range here in Utah. I'm not sure if that's because the market's a bit stronger or if that's just because they're, fully high qualified borrowers. But in this instance, you're seeing that the national rate across the board is roughly 7%. But again, like I said, here in Utah, you can get a little bit lower. I'm seeing anywhere from about 5.8 to about 6.25 for most borrowers in this market, depending on the type of loan they're going with, their credit score, income, debts, all of those things that go into that process. So interest rates, thankfully, are a little bit lower here in Utah than what we see here, but we do need them to come down 0.5%, maybe a full percent to get more activity in the market. That being said, I don't expect to see prices really move all that much going into 2025 unless one of these major things happens. Even if interest rates come down 0.5%, a full percent, I don't think we're going to see prices climb that much going into the spring and summer months. Now let's jump back over here. Let's take a look at what happens from the winter months going into the spring and summer months. December 2023, we had a median sales price of $475. So home prices are actually up roughly $25,000 across the board during this time from this year compared to last year. So 475, we went to 485, 490, 495, and then 500, and then 510. So from December through May, we start to see home prices climb. In this instance, we went from roughly 475 to 510. That's a $35,000 increase. Will we see 35,000 going from December to May of 2025? I don't know. I don't think so. I think we will see prices climb probably 25,000. We'll have to check in a couple of months. But I don't think we'll see the massive price increase that we saw last year because prices were a little bit lower. I still think that we are going to see prices increase over the next couple of months, but it's all going to be dependent on how quickly the interest rates change. I think everybody's still kind of anticipating the interest rates will come down, maybe 0.5%, a full percent, but we're going to have to wait and see. For me, I'm kind of somewhat optimistic. I've talked about this time and time again. People saying a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, saying, oh yeah, rates will drop in 2024. And, again, taking a look at this, we really did not see rates drop during this time. If we come back here, open this up, let's take a look at 2024. This time last year, we were sitting at roughly 7%. So rates, they kind of went up, came down, went back up, right? We didn't see that massive change that people were expecting. I think a lot of people were expecting to be somewhere between 5 to 6% interest rate. And that's just not the case. That's not what we're seeing here based on this graph. So that's taking a look at what's kind of happening as well as my prediction on what's going to happen over the next couple months. If you're a buyer in this market, if you can stomach the higher interest rate that you're looking at today, it might make sense to purchase now, maybe in the next 1, 2, 3 months, because you are going to be looking at an additional $15,000, $20,000, maybe $25,000 in prices if you wait until May, June, July. Now, we're going to jump in and take a look at some information that's happening between different counties at different price points. But before we do that, guys, as a reminder, if you're looking at making a move here or you already live in the area, please reach out to me, call, text, or email me anytime. I love hearing from you guys. If I can help you in any way on your real estate journey, whether you want to buy, you want to sell, you want to invest in real estate, please reach out. I'd love to hear from you. My information will be here on the screen, and hope to chat with you soon. Let's take a look at my screen here, and we'll take a look at Salt Lake County. So again, this is the state of Utah, County of Salt Lake. This is all homes across all prices here. We're currently sitting pretty flat for the year, right? Going back here, looking at the last couple months, August 530, September, we were actually a little higher at 540 for September and October. Then we dropped pretty substantially down to 515 in November, probably tied to the interest rate climb that we saw during that time. Again, if you take a look at this, if we zoom in a little bit here, you can see that interest rates actually started climbing. They were lower here in September, and then it really started to climb during this time frame. So that's why we saw home prices actually come down a little bit, because sellers were getting more eager to sell during that time. The people who'd been on the market for 2, 3, 4 months said, hey, I want to sell before the end of the year. I want to sell before the holidays. Interest rates are going up. Buyers are not coming around. I need to get this sold. Let's take a lower price. So that being said, we saw those lower prices in November, but then they did actually jump back up slightly here in December. So home prices or home sales were pretty much flat across the board. You know, again, comparing to last year, home sales in the county are sitting right around 800 for the month. That's pretty typical, at least compared to last year. The same numbers we saw, but we saw sales prices of 530, and days on market is up slightly as well. All right, now we're going to take a look at Utah County. We're going to see what happened during this time. We actually saw prices go the opposite direction here in Utah County. Prices are a little bit lower in Utah County across the board, and I'm also starting to see that homes that are a little bit further out in areas that are a little bit less central are actually seeing bigger price drops. I think this is because buyers are getting more picky and they're determining, hey, I actually want to live a little bit closer to work, closer to entertainment, closer to all of these different things. And where prices have come down just slightly, people are now making that jump and they're saying, hey, if I'm going to spend more on my mortgage because of higher interest rates, I'm going to get a house that's a little bit more desirable, and I'm really going to commit to this home for the long term. So that means that people are moving a little bit closer to these central areas, including Salt Lake, just the county in general, as well as areas like Lehigh, Saratoga Springs, even American Fork. You know, these areas are really popular, but areas that are a little bit, or cities that are a little bit further out are not quite as popular, and we're starting to see more and more price drops in this area. So taking a look at the last couple months, the main thing I want to look at is, yes, you know, home sales have declined over the last couple months. Pretty typical going from the fall to the winter, nothing surprising there. But home prices actually have dropped pretty substantially. Going back to September, we were at 535 on the list price, then 522, 510, 500. And then, you know, of course, January, we've only got 5 sales, so not a great representation of what's happened. But looking at this, listing prices are dropping as well as sales prices. Sales prices are actually at 515 from September 2024 all the way down to 485. So over what is that? 15. That's a $30,000 price drop over the last couple of months. Homes are still selling, but they are sitting on the market 36, 34, 39 days on market, and 39 for December. So if you're a buyer in this market, I actually see opportunity right now. If it makes sense for you and your personal situation to purchase a home right now, doing it during the winter is probably your best bet. I think we will see prices go up over the next couple of months, probably 25, 30 grand, like I mentioned before. But I do think there's going to be less competition right now. Interest rates will probably be roughly the same. We might see them come down a quarter, maybe 0.5%, which yes, will make a difference. But again, it all comes back to, does it make sense for you to buy in your own personal situation right now? If it does, now's the opportunity, now's the time to strike. I would do it now versus waiting until the spring, because then things will change. There'll be more competition, higher prices. With that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching. Reach out if I can do anything for you. And again, we'll catch you in the next video.